we're beginning to stream. Once it's streaming, we will call the meeting to order. We're about to stream. The suspense,
You're good.
we're on. Okay, we're streaming. So let us call the meeting to order. The we have the for those the present is Brian Foley, Elaine Daly, the Ben Vitale, Keith Batman, the Trish Kerr representing the Public Works Committee, and Chris Petras. So I think we have a quorum. Very good. So first order of business, if we could get the agenda back, but when you get a chance, Jody. But certainly first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from our previous meeting. If we could have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Move on forward.
Additions, corrections. Oh, we have. Jody's working on it. Echo canceling.
The worst possible thing would be Keith having a conversation
Twice.
with Keith.
Wouldn't that be great? Is there a way we could do that?
Hello.
Just in a loop.
Keith
Okay.
arguing with himself.
Okay, people have made fun of me sufficiently. Thank you. And so we have a motion, a second to approve the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now, a couple people have to leave for other commitments tonight. So if we can do our order differently, unless I hope no one objects, to do our resolutions first and then the reports, is that agreeable with all the members of the committee?
Certainly.
Very good. So if we can move to resolutions,
Point of order, Chair.
yes.
Mr. Pinckney's not here for planning, but I'm the vice chairman.
In that case, you will, if
that
we
a
can note that Mr. Lattimore is serving as the representative. Thank you very much.
No, I didn't know whether or not that's.
That is absolutely
Legal.
appropriate. Thank you. I didn't know who the vice chair of that committee was.
You're voting
It's good that you're here. You are now the representative of planning.
I think I mean, but
Very good.
I don't know.
So if we can begin with there are no ways and means resolutions. So if we can begin with Health and Human Services. Ms. Daly,
Yes, Health and Human Services had 10 resolutions this month. You can see from the agenda that you were sent out, HH2 was amended at the meeting to include a specific period of time for having the temporary early intervention service coordinator stay on with the permanent hire fill. And the resolution was amended for a period of about 180 hours, which is about 5 weeks of overlap. So the new early intervention service coordinator that's budgeted will start, and the temporary one that was put in till the permanent hire was identified will close out their cases and orient the new worker. The rest of the resolutions passed without any opposition. So I would offer up HH 1 through 10 as a bundle, unless someone else wants other than HH 2 separated.
okay, so we have a motion to bundle 1 through 10. Do we have a second?
A second.
And so I should have asked first, no one wants any of these separated. Okay, great. So we have motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you very much. So next is, I'm not sure who is next. I'll just make an order up here. So next will be, well, it'd be good to have us here.
Yep.
Governance,
Okay.
Mr. Polo.
So government operations has 6 resolutions. There's 7 up there, but GO5 was full, that committee. And GO6 and GO7 were added today. I'm going to have Mr. Guillermo explain those in more in depth, so I'll take a motion to bundle GO1 to GO4.
Second.
So we have a motion to bundle 1 through 4 in a second. Anyone want any of those separated? Any questions on 1 through 4? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and let the minutes show that Mr. Pinckney has joined us. Mr. Lattimore was ready and able to take your place. Thank you very much. So, Mr. Foley?
Okay, so, GO6, GO7 were college resolutions that were just kind of lost in the shuffle. These things happen from time to time. Nobody's fault, you know, it happens. With that said, I want to have Chris talk more about our county attorney. GO6 and GO7, one is the college's budget, which they submit to us. Dr. Durant gave a presentation saying that there was no tuition increase, I believe, and no additional ask from the county. That was at last month's full legislative meeting. And then the second one is approving a contract that has to be submitted to SUNY. That is an agreement that the college made with the bargaining unit CSCA, and has to be submitted and has to be approved by us before that. I realize there might be questions, but
Yeah. But I think someone from the college, Marie and maybe the president are on the line, so in addition, if there are questions.
So Ben made a motion for GO6 and GO7.
Oh, thank you. So you have a motion for GO6 and 7. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Haley seconds. So Chris, Mr. Claremont, do you want to speak to this, or would you like to rather have the college do it, or how you want to do it?
Well, the college would be more appropriate, but I think Mr. Foley did a fine job of explaining as much as I would have. The only exception I would take to statements is that the fact that these didn't get on the government ops agenda is absolutely my fault. Dropped the ball on these two, wasn't available, and they kind of, you know, lost my attention. So that's it. So they're here ways.
Okay, great, thank you. So are there any questions on the content of either of these? The one is their budget and the college budget, and the second is the agreement with one of the bargaining units. So we're gonna have any questions, substantive questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Lattimore.
I'd just like to say that the college, it was nice to be at the culinary. I know that you were there. I noticed in the paper the other day that there wasn't anybody representing the county in the picture with the new culinary arts. But anyways, I know that you had a problem with Ms. Kerr's amendment being brought on at the last minute. This is an entire budget. Is that what we're saying it is?
College.
That's correct.
I mean, I've known that in the past that, you know, we have these last minute things, but it would be nice to have them prior to voting on them. So
Yeah, we did have a presentation on it. If
there
you
was no
remember.
changes there?
I didn't know, there were no changes from then, but I can't disagree with you in terms of it's most appropriate for things to go through committee, go through the process. In this case, there clearly was some confusion, and I think we'll let Marie Nelbeck, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Is Marie on the line?
As is Dr. Durant
Okay,
too.
Dr. Grant, you on the line?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Marie and I are here, and we appreciate the opportunity for your consideration. Can you hear me?
Okay. Well, let me,
Mr. Chair.
Can I just call the question?
well, that's a legitimate question. Let's get that out. Let me, I spoke with the college today because I had the same concern about it, last minute kinds of stuff. The reality is if it's not approved, if we don't approve it this month, then it can't go through the process it needs to go through in order to set tuition. And the other things that and that's the big thing, quite frankly, that have to be done. SUNY has to, we have to look at it, SUNY has to look at it, and then the College Board of Trustees moves forward in terms of the tuition. There's no tuition increase, there's no increase from our standpoint, and as I understand, the budget has not changed since the presentation. So I don't disagree with you, Mr. Lattimore, but these things happen, and this is one of them.
I mean, I'm an alum of the college, and I really want to be supportive of the college, but, you know, the president's been absent from the last 3 or 4 meetings where I had some questions and,
Okay, well, let's we'll reach out, we can reach out to the president to make sure he's at the ledge meeting where we can wrap up any questions relating to these resolutions or anything else that comes up.
that would be good.
Keith, I'm here,
Okay.
I'm.
So we
Keith.
have a motion, the question was called, so all in favor? Any opposed? Very good, thank you all very much. So next, planning,
Can you,
Mr. Pinckney.
Chairman, planning has 3 resolutions before you, I believe. So it's 4.
Five.
Slide it up a little bit there. Hey,
Five.
Careful, we have more work.
yeah. Events for committee. So it's seek your approval. Something that was separated, we can do that.
And could we separate 5
through 4.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion to bundle 1 through 4 and a second. Anyone want any of the others separated? Any discussion, questions on those? In that case, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Okay. Now, could we have a motion
PL
on
5 was
PL
added.
5?
Planning. I said it's getting worse. Authorizing the chair and the highway superintendent to enter into an agreement with the Veterans Memorial Park Association for assistance in implementing the Veterans Park Memorial Capital Improvement Plan and supporting the 2021 New York State CFA grant funding request.
So could we have a motion
I'll move it.
and a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
Yeah, there are a couple of things with this. One is this amendment, this resolution was amended since the planning committee. So I think appropriately, we should have a motion to, because the committee did not approve this submitted here. There was some wording amended. So I'll ask Mr. Palermo to give us that wording where it fits in and the reason for it. The second thing is that I'd moved that we, at the committee, that we remove the last resolve for the 200 tons of rock. I thought that was approved, but it was defeated. And so we have to come back up now. Once we get to that, I will entertain a motion that we can't do that. I would have mentioned this if the committee had I just thought it was that resolution to remove, or the amendment to remove that was done. It wasn't. We cannot legally take highway money and spend it on anything that's not highway or right of way on the district. It's illegal. We can't do it. We can find money in other sources in the county and apply that and then reimburse the highway department. But as written, this is an illegal amendment. So we have to remove, at the very least, we have to remove that resolved and then figure out how to, if people want to support this project with services, or in this case, product, then we have to find a way to do that through public works. So we can't do it as it stands here legally. But the first thing is Mr. Palermo, if you can explain to us the amendment that was made or the changes that were made so we can deal with those.
Sure. So the resolution came right before planning, I believe it was, and of course I wasn't around. So after it had gotten through committee, I was informed that the resolution had not had attorney approval yet. So in reviewing it, as is typical with a lot of the not-for-profit assistance we provide, my opinion was there was better written as a contract with the Veterans Memorial Association to provide gravel in exchange for them conducting their services as they would, to provide a veterans memorial. Written as a contract, much in the same way that we do the libraries, that we do many of the not-for-profits, Nick's Ride. So that was the change that I made to the resolution. I guess I didn't know that it had been approved as is by planning, so. So
Can I ask a question? I'm confused. After you reviewed this, the concern was you'd rather have a contract because you can't just gift. a
well, you actually
not-for-profit.
can, which I found out later, I didn't realize there's a section of county law that specifically says you can give, the county can fund the erection of a memorial for veterans of the armed forces as well as the site work. So you can do that, but again, it doesn't cover things like insurances and ongoing maintenance and things you could incorporate into a contract. So even despite that one provision in county law, I'm still far more comfortable with a contract that would outline some of those obligations and responsibilities.
To Keith's point, you can't even
That's a
give
second.
material.
By the way,
No,
it's a second point.
If the gravel is purchased out of a D fund, the D fund is limited, it has a very specific set of uses and that's it. And building,
so they can't take their gravel in the D fund for the cost of what it would be and give it to. Is that what you're saying?
just that simply correct,
They can't take their stuff and give it away to.
correct.
Even if you're.
Not out of a D fund.
What we could do,
You could,
And the D fund is specific to the highway budget.
correct.
Mr. Chair, this is a point of order.
Yeah.
We don't have a motion or a second on this resolution yet.
I think we do have didn't we have a motion in a second?
No, we have.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, forgive me. We should have a motion in a second.
I thought.
I did have a motion.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I
there
thought.
was.
Sorry. Who moved it?
Who's on
Let's
first?
just,
Petrus and Daly.
Seconded or vice
I
versa?
think it was vice versa.
It was
so
motion,
we do. have
motion by
Ms.
Petrus, second by
moved it.
Daly.
Right.
Ms. Daly, excuse me, second. So, no, that's fine.
Right.
So, Mr. Petrus, you had a comment?
Were you? No, okay, so kind of flying off the cuff here, but, I'd like to offer an amendment, if possible. Mr. Palermo, stop me if I'm making too much control of myself, but the amendment would be, to basically the same, but to take the $2,000 from the A fund rather than the specific D fund.
And what account would that be?
What account? Just the A fund. Oh, there's you need the subsequent account from the A.
Yeah,
You're gonna
of course
put
you
it
do.
in.
You're gonna take money from one account. Look, if I may suggest.
$2,000, we're good.
Yeah, if I may suggest that we do this, that there seems to be general support for this project. Okay. The details of how the stone is gonna be paid for are details that have to be thought through and they have to be accounted for, and this is the law. It's not, it's the law. Why don't we remove, my original amendment was to remove, at that point, it was only 200 tons, no money. Let's remove that resolve. There's no urgency on that. The urgency on this was to get something in support of the project before they had to make the application for the CFA. We remove that. There's still support for the project. It can go to committee, Public Works. Public Works can figure out, can get the restrictions and whatever it is from the highway department that needs to be considered. That our budget director can look at the A fund, find an account it can come out of, and we can do it next month. So the highway department is not going to be able to do anything on this month anyway. They're busy with the flood damage and
So just the last resolve, or the.
I don't know what,
last
I don't have
resolve?
in front of me. The second last it was originally.
It's with
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's just, there's no money. I was mistaken. It's just the 200-ton reference.
So just to take out giving them the stone.
Yeah, and then we can legally move
Come back
forward.
as enter into a contract
Do you
with.
need that as an
blah, blah.
amendment?
Yes,
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll move that.
okay.
Okay, big spend.
So could we have a discussion on the removing, I think, is the next to last result, Mr. Pinckney.
So I have no problem with where you're going, and the direction you're going. My question is this the first event where the highway or some facet of this government has done something like this? And who's going to patrol this in the future? Because with all good intent, I agree with what you're saying, but this sugar has been going on. So who's monitoring this is my question.
The department heads, and that's the reason it should have gone through Public Works, as far as I'm concerned. That the issue with all of this is all we did this in Scipio when supervisor. I bet they do it in Aurelius when you're on the board. Every town, provides some support for not-for-profits and other stuff. And within limits, we just all look the other way. But it's not legal. Once we have a resolution, now we've crossed a line from kind of informal, kind of, you do this and I do that, and it's the best thing for the community. Once we have a resolution, it crosses the line from those kinds of things that are just done for the good of the community to something that is a formal, resolved, legal document. And we should not be passing a resolution that's illegal. That's the point here. And that's what we're getting at. And it's the responsibility of the highway department or the department that does it. Plus it's responsibility of each of us when we're proposing projects to do what needs to be done to make sure that it's being done appropriately. And and in this case, it's not legal. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do about that. That's the law is the law. Ms. Dale.
And again, I just listened to the meeting, I wasn't there, but in fairness, I think Brian told Trish, I'm okay with this, but this has got to be blessed through the county. That's why he wasn't comfortable doing it just without some kind of authorization from the county. Your point is this particular authorization isn't the legal way to move
That's
this
correct.
forward. So we can move this forward if there's desire to do it and find a different way to make this happen that's more legal.
Yeah, if we want to contribute to this, but Mr. Pinckney's point is a good one too, and this is what needs to be discussed in committee. At what point do we say we support projects, but we're not going to put in the county money? And those are all things that need to be, the projects come up, and that's what Mr. Pinckney's saying all the time.
The big one that I remember vaguely was the Emerson in-kind services that the highway and soil and water did there, and it was large amounts of transactions.
But I'm pretty sure that we did it correctly.
Well, we did, but after the fact too. But it was after the fact, but it was.
There was a discussion that we can't use, highway money for that kind of work, and it has to be.
I'm not
separate.
challenging the legality.
Yeah, there are ways to do it. It just needs to be
Right.
done the legal way.
Do you want all of those resolutions to come to the legislature, or is it left to the department and individually to say, this, I'm okay with this, but it needs to come before a legislative body for approval?
Yeah, maybe we ought to ask government ops to come up with some guidelines on that, because it's a really good question. I mean, certainly if county funds are going to be used, they need to go through committee. But the question of whether a resolution of support for anything, where that should come from and how it should be done, because we do have, this county is involved, to our credit, our not-for-profits are active in doing all kinds of things to benefit the community that we need to support in one way or the other. And the question is, what's the best way to do that? And so I think that's a really good question. I don't know the answer to it, but yeah, great.
Tricia's
Okay.
got a question.
Trish.
Not really a question, just a comment that I guess I do want to support this project with in-kind contribution to the highway. I hope that we do have support from this body to do that. Maybe not tonight because we still have to work out the details of it, but this did go through committee. I don't know if we need to do a second resolution to put through committee next month for that one piece. But I do want to keep this on the radar, and I would like to have real discussion about what we can do to support this project beyond just our general support. So if there's no way to identify tonight how we would do that and where this funding would come from, I will be putting a resolution in next month, working with Tucker to have this come back for consideration. I did reach out to Tucker before committee and Brian Soper before committee to talk about this resolution particularly, as well as a stone piece of it. It is a project that Highway wants to be able to support and be involved in, but it is something that they felt was above and beyond what we would normally do. So it's really up to us to say, how much support do we want to lend to this project? And I'm glad that we're not pulling this completely tonight, because I think that having a resolution from our governing body for their application going in at the time of their application will lend strength to it and hopefully give it a leg up. It's a great project. So I guess I'll just leave it there.
Just out of curiosity, I'm curious as to what, would that be a public works? Would it come back through public works? Or would it come through, well, obviously it'll come through both, but because it's, a monetary issue, would it be through ways? If we were to bring that second component, as I understand, the financial component of it.
Yeah, and I would suggest it has to come through the oversight committee that the department's gonna be effective, because it's not just the money. And I spoke with Mr. Silver too, and and he said, oh yeah, no, we can't just give them stone. Yeah, no, I mean, that's he said, I wasn't asked to do that. I didn't understand what whatever, it's like and he neither supports nor does not support the project. His point is that if the legislature wants, he will do what is directed. But he also makes the point that I cannot do it on their schedule. We've got roads that were washed out. They've got a lot of work to do. And so he's not comfortable with a resolution that says you will do this, in anything other than when it can be done based upon the demands of the highway department. And that's the reason I think it's important to come through public works, so that we're certain that we're not working at cross purposes with the work that our departments have to do, in this case, highway. And I don't think anyone that doesn't support the project would say it's a ball field. We do need to be clear, though, that the stone is not being used for the memorial. Stone is being used as I understand the project, for roads, access.
Site improvements to
Yeah.
provide access to the veteran memorial.
Yeah, and that's not the same, and I don't think,
As we call it.
and we better get clarification. So we have the question called, so the motion is to eliminate that that one resolve.
As a second to last result.
Yes. Okay. So we have the motion to remove that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, very good.
Chairman, I mean, I've been on this floor for 11 years plus now, and I was a little concerned about how the speed of sound, or the Constitution, we're not stepping over any constitutional limits or whatever, but I mean, I've been asking to build a mega site somewhere in this
Wait,
country.
we still have a motion on the floor. Does this, if your discussion relates to this
Well,
motion?
I'm gonna bring it back to, we put $1 million in a road system in our industrial park. I know it was another governmental agency, the Industrial Development Authority, but we moved. We got it done. So I'd like to be able to somehow cut the red tape and move these projects ahead. I mean, it's amazing to me how long it takes to do anything.
Well, yeah, I just have one comment to that and we'll move on. And my comment to that is the reason we have committees and processes set up is to move as quickly as we can. Had this gone to government operations, or rather public works, through the process, all this stuff considered, all of these legal issues, our attorneys reviewed this stuff, then we would be voting on it tonight. The corners we can't cut are the corners of the law. We're here we took an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of New York and the laws thereof.
Then we just passed the county budget or the college's budget with a walkout?
That's not against the law, but in any event, that's.
Oh, there's a law, there's a letter of the law and then the spirit of the law.
Oh, come on. But, okay, but we still have the language that is now before us with the contract is not the language of the resolution. So Mr. Palermo, can you read that language and tell us where it comes in? I don't think we have a.
The title's changed. For starters, not that the title is binding on anyone or anything, but it is, it's different. And it is the resolved that you just took out, that a change occurred. The Cayuga County Legislature hereby authorizes the chair and highway superintendent to enter into an agreement with the Veterans Memorial Park Association, but you just removed that
Okay.
resolve. So other than the title, which I think probably ought to be changed again, because the title now says authorizing the chair and highway superintendent to enter into an agreement.
Well, that's not actually before us. So,
What's
the resolution that the committee approved with the removal of that last resolve, it's okay as it stands?
It's the same.
Okay, so we can't, is that
I
correct?
could go back to the old titles, I guess what I'll give a suggestion.
And the old resolution? Because we've taken
It's just
out,
that one resolve, right? You just removed it
Yeah.
here, so.
so we no longer need a contract.
Yeah. there's no
To give a
language.
letter of support or to give a
That's really
resolution
it.
of support.
It's just support.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we have the resolution as submitted and as amended. Is everyone ready to vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great, it passes. Thank you all. Okay, Public Works. Madam
Oh, me?
Vice Chair. Yeah.
Just absorbing all of that. Public Works has 6 resolutions. They've been through committee. I'll offer them as a bundle unless anybody wants to separate out.
Just a quick question, I think, PW4 doesn't need 2/3 here, only have a full light for, so they can still be bundled, correct? Thank you.
Correct.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and second to bundle these. Anyone want anything removed? Mr. Pinckney?
Just clarity on before, there was discussion about monies that were already in the line item. Was that to be followed up or looked into, or was that just catch it next time? Pardon me?
Failed.
It failed, okay.
This was about taking from contingency or doing the reserve, right?
The reserve, there's a reserve fund there.
But we need a local law and. Yeah, I
You
just
think
listened,
local law to use that?
Yeah. It would take
right? Do you need a local
What
law
did
to
we
use
have,
the building reserve?
first?
No, just what reserve do you need a
No,
local?
no, I'm
law?
just asking.
Public
I wake up during the night and sweats things.
Yeah, but I can- I'm sorry.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, you wake
I'm
up
sorry,
and
you
put
need
for other
public
reasons.
hearing,
Mr.
not
Pinckney.
To take money out of some line item that we already said.
A reserve, if it's a reserve account, that's correct. And reserve accounts are different than line items, because line items, if you don't spend them through the year, they just go away back to the general fund. Reserves are meant to be year over year over year. They kind of hang out. And so that's the difference.
So why wouldn't we use that reserve? Why wouldn't we have a public hearing to do that?
Maybe time factor that would take an extra month.
Sensitive, time sensitive again?
I'd like to separate out 4.
Okay, so we have a motion to bundle 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6.
I'll move it.
Second.
Because that's one. Any questions on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, if we could have a motion on the
Move
PW4.
for.
4's been moved, second.
Second.
Okay, now discussion on PW4. Mr. Vitale.
I think I'll still be voting no. I was there last week for an event, and obviously they must not have had any refrigeration, but the event was very, food was great, everything went well. I don't think it's such an emergency that we can't have a public hearing and use the money that we get from the person that's renting it, the company that's renting the pavilion, specifically for the replacement of equipment. And I think that's the proper use and reason why I'll be voting against it.
Is there sufficient money in that reserve account to pay for the refrigeration? There is. So it simply is a time and element. There was concern that
Can I just
there
get
wasn't.
clarification? If this resolution passes the way it is, the reason the 2/3 is on the floor is because the proposal is to take it out of the contingency account. And you're saying the reserve seems to be more appropriate. And even though it takes
That's what
a,
it's for.
right, even though it takes a,
Building reserve?
No, it's a different.
No, it's the park reserve.
That's-
Part of the contract with them is that there's a certain amount of money that's set aside every year for the replacement of capital items.
Right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
the
pavilion.
pavilion, we own the equipment there. And the purveyor that's renting the pavilion, so much of their rent goes into this reserve account every year, every month, whatever. And that reserve account is specifically to replace our equipment in there when it wears out or.
Just, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
And to your best understanding, the refrigerator is functional right now?
No. But they had an event and I didn't die from food poisoning. No.
Just take the money out of the goddamn land, and it was there, created there. for-
Right, so I guess. Can you amend it?
Okay, Mr. Foley has a question.
Is it possible to have Gary Duckett, if he's on, maybe explain some of this nuance with the resolution? Or that they don't have a refrigeration unit, but they're still going to hold all of their events, whether you wait a month or not? Just vote.
Let's see it. Is Mr. Duckett on?
Yes, I'm here and Doug is also here.
Yeah, no reason necessarily he would be, so,
Yeah,
No,
I'll,
he's on.
oh, yes.
We don't hear him right now.
I'll let Doug speak.
Dr. Durant sent me a message. He was on as well, but nobody could hear him. I'm not sure if all those people are give you permission to speak or.
Amanda was able to speak earlier. Did you happen to turn the speaker down on the other?
We muted it, but we unmuted.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting, I have a question.
Well, we're not gonna wait, by the way.
Yeah, but I'd like to.
No, I think. No,
Doug, can you hear me? Gary, can you hear me?
It's okay.
Doug,
Yeah,
I
no,
can hear you, Doug. I don't know if they can hear us.
I don't think they,
just say that the past vendor was supposed to pay us X amount of money for the.
I can hear
lease and
both of
the-
you,
the
so.
monies we're supposed to go to contingency.
Okay.
I think that was short by thousands. Maybe.
Well, we changed the
40 or
terms of that to be 10% of sales.
What I'm saying, what we think should have gone into the reserve for the building and the.
Well, I don't think that's the issue. You guys checked and there's money in the reserve to pay for it. Okay, so the question is, do we want to ratchet this up, take it to the body for a 2/3 vote out of contingency? Or what we do is recommend that we go to the body and set a public hearing for next month, September, which would delay it 1 month.
Set the public hearing, and then you have to wait to hear it. Is it 2 months worth of?
1 month. You set it in August, have it in September, and you can vote then. But, so the proposal really is that these guys are saying, let's vote it down. So that's, are we ready to vote? So what we're voting on is the resolution to take the money out of contingency. That's the only thing we can vote it up or down. So all in favor of that resolution to take it from contingency?
Once is enough.
Yeah. Let me argue with myself. Get in the loop, that would be fun. Okay, all in favor, say aye. or raise your hand in case it's close. All in favor, so it's the 2/3. All opposed? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it fails. Okay. So we will communicate that to, I guess, that would be Mr. Duckett, right? In terms of bringing it up. No one objects, I assume, to coming forward with a public hearing.
You need a resolution for the upcoming legislative meeting to set a public hearing.
Oh,
for
so
the
it'd be 2
following-
months.
So
And we
next
can't
week,
do that.
Can we get that for next week?
If somebody wanted to present a resolution on the floor, and just setting the public hearing for next month.
For next month.
You could, that would delay it 1 month.
Yeah, 'cause
Otherwise,
otherwise it would be 2.
Okay,
Why don't
but
do
we
that?
can introduce that resolution on the floor
somebody
next
can,
week.
sure.
Okay.
Who was in favor of
You
those
can help us
resolutions?
coordinate that. 'Cause I don't think anyone objects to the,
Right.
okay, very good.
Who was in
Okay,
favor
thank
of the
you.
resolution?
And judicial public
Amanda, I
safety.
don't think they can hear us. No, they can't.
Chairman, Judicial
I've
Public
been
Safety had a meeting last week.
emailing
Very
Jody
quick
back.
and efficient. Again, 4 resolutions, all committee, all cast. So if somebody wants to make a motion for JP 1 through 4,
I'll
would
move
be a
it.
wonderful thing.
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on JP 1 through 4. Anyone have anything they not separated or have any comments? So any discussion? Okay, so we have 1 through 4. All in favor? Any objection? They pass. Is there any other business to come before this body?
Well, you were gonna go back to the committee reports.
Oh, yes, God, thank you. Getting off cycle is confusing.
Thank you for
So
doing that.
let's go, yeah. 'cause-
Thank you for changing the order though.
Yes.
Thank you.
I really.
So if we could go back to the committee report, if you could go back to the top of the agenda.
Might not be able to do it, Keith.
Jody,
I'm sorry, but
can you take it to the top of the agenda?
Amanda, can you take it to the
Oh.
top of the agenda?
2 people controlling, this is real stuff. So I can tell you, very good. So Kelly Anderson is asked to be excused because she is on vacation. And so that's why she's not here. We all got her report. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to pass those along. Or if you want to ask them, maybe someone here knows the answers. So are there any questions? Very good. And Mr. Orman, are you on? I see you.
I still am.
Yes.
We have your report. Is there anything you want to add to it?
Not really. You know, we're in that July.
Nobody that's online can be heard. Gary Duckett's been trying to speak. Amanda's been speaking, Doug
I
Delastrino.
don't know what happened.
We can't
Before
hear
the
them.
meeting started, Amanda, we heard Amanda
we heard
Amanda,
speaking,
right.
and then
But I don't think you're gonna be able to ask anybody.
Okay,
anything.
well, in that case,
Jim's fluent in American sign.
yeah, but none of us are. Yeah. So does anyone have any, let's do this. Does anyone have any questions on the treasurer's report? In which case I would take them down, speak with him, and then send an email out with the answers. I think it's pretty straightforward. Great. Lisa is here, I believe. Lisa's here. So we got your report. Are there any things you would like to add or?
I waited all time for that.
Does anybody have any questions on the HR report? Very good. So what is next? Who else do we have? So Amanda, if you.
It was a
can-
good
yeah,
try,
thank you.
Jim.
I should remember this and I don't. One more. Okay, great. I guess that's it. So one thing I think everyone should have gotten or will be getting a second quarter financial report from Mary Ann Leeson, the budget report on where we are with that and variances as compared last year and this year. If you haven't gotten that, you will be getting it in the next day or two. And if you don't get it in the next day or two, let me know. It's an interesting report. And no real surprises. Sales tax is up. Some of our expenses are up as well. some of our expenses are surprisingly up considering last year's COVID, but others are, easily explained. So let me know how you like the format of that report. I found it very readable and very helpful, but you may not do so. So with that, I think now, if there's no other business, we can entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion, a second.
Second.
Any opposition? Just, okay, one opposition. All in favor? Okay, aye, okay. Okay, we're adjourned.
We started late, though. How's that?
Thank you all very much.